Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this video I'll be taking you through a walkthrough of one of the scenarios from the main book of Moonstone. This is Scenario 3, Go Home You're Drunk, for 2 to 4 players. And this is going to be a companion video to the How to Play Moonstone video that I made a little while back. It doesn't really matter which order you watch these 2 videos in, the How to Play or this walkthrough. It's up to you, but this is going to be a good example game. Almost like a demo, just to show you exactly how the gameplay works. We'll go through the card mechanics with real examples as it plays out on the table. I will be doing proper battle reports with other players later on in this series, but for now it's just going to be me, and I'll be making the decisions for the defenders and the attackers, so both troops. It's really just to give you a good idea of how the game works. Okay, let's get into it then. So if you've got the main book, have a look at page 55 and then you'll see Scenario 3, Go Home You're Drunk, and that's what we're going to be going through now. On page 54 there's a really nice story to get you into it, but on page 55 it gives you a little paragraph just to get started. Right, the scene is set and Fritz has acquired a Moonstone. But instead of keeping quiet and heading home as any sensible denizen of Tauber would, he's been in the tavern since noon, shooting his mouth off and drinking to his good fortune. The tavern is not the place to be doing this, and there's some sneaky beakies around listening in to everything that Fritz has been saying. And you never know just who's either hiding in a box or lurking behind a hay bale. Agatha wisely advises Fritz to go home before he completely loses his senses. And with that, it's time for battle to commence, and this scenario requires a defender and either 1 to 3 attacking players. Fritz and Agatha will be the defenders. We're using Drunk Fritz for this scenario, and for the attackers we've got Beaky Bobby, Vicious Sid and Grub. We're using the 3x3 table, but the game table should include at least 2 built-in terrain pieces. One is going to be declared as the tavern, while the other is going to be Fritz's home. The main entrances to the tavern and Fritz's home should be exactly 16 inches apart with no intervening terrain. Not going to grow any moonstones in this scenario, but we are going to deploy our troops. So first place Drunk Fritz in base contact with the tavern door. But for the start of the game, Agatha Tavernfrau is not going to be deployed. She's going to hang back in the tavern. The attacker is going to place their models 10 inches away from Fritz and 10 inches away from Fritz's home. And here you can see they're all deployed now, waiting to pounce as he leaves the tavern. Beaky Bobby and Vicious Sid are poised ready behind the barrels, and Grub is ready to use some of his special powers and abilities later on. Let's roll off then to see who goes first. Green for Beaky Bobby and blue for Fritz. And Fritz can add 2 because he's the defender in this first round, and that means he's going to get the initiative. So he's going to get to go first. Before we do that though, it's time for the replenish step. So let's give everyone their energy tokens. And as this is a special mission, Drunk Fritz also gets to have that 1 moonstone on his person. Beaky Bobby and his troop all get their tokens as well. And now we're ready for the game to commence, and Drunk Fritz is going to activate first. He's got 3 energy to use, and unfortunately for Fritz, he can't jog. He's had too many beers in the tavern, so he's going to use his stagger about, and this is going to cost him 1 energy token. And he can move up to X, and so he's going to have to start using the arcane deck to see how far he can move. So he spends his 1 energy token. Then we get the arcane deck. We're going to give this a really good shuffle, and then we're going to just pick the top card. I'll cut the deck as well, so we don't know what's going to come up. And here we go. The first card is going to be a catastrophe. Right away, Fritz is just going to make a stumble. As he's left the tavern, he's tripped up over the door, and now unfortunately he's going to suffer a catastrophe. And if we look on his card, it tells us that this model loses all energy. So unfortunately, that's going to be it for Drunk Fritz. There's nothing else he can do during this activation, as all his energy has been removed, and he's not allowed to jog because of his too drunk to walk ability. Let's shuffle those cards again so they're ready for the next round. Normally we'll go back and forth, activating 1 member of each troop at a time, going back and forth between the players. But as there's 3 here with Beaky Bobby, Vicious Sid and Grub, and no others left in the troop for Fritz, because Agatha's not in play yet, she's still in the tavern, these guys are all going to go first. So Vicious Sid decides to make his move. He's allowed to squeeze through the terrain there, so that's really good. And then he's going to spend his energy tokens all of 3 of them to move an extra 3 inches. That's 1 energy token per inch, and that's a step. And now he's eyeing up Drunk Fritz, ready for the next turn. Next up is Beaky Bobby. He's a bit reluctant to get stuck in, doesn't want to get too drunk. He's certainly going to be trying to hide behind Vicious Sid. So he's going to use his jog to move that full 4 inches. And then he's going to use his other 4 energy tokens, and he's going to move 1 inch at a time. That's going to give him another 4 steps, so that's 4 inches. And he's not going to get closer though. He's going to use Vicious Sid as a shield, but also get in the path between the tavern and Drunk Fritz's home, so if push comes to shove, at least he's there and can maybe try and stop him. Now it's time for Grub to activate, and he's going right in with his wormhole, so he's going to spend 2 energy, and now he's able to teleport. He's in base contact with an obstacle terrain, so now he's going to move right over here to the building, and then he's going to make sure he's within 2 inches of Drunk Fritz, spend another 2 energy, and now he's going to straight away activate his bug spray. This is a 2-inch range, costs 2 energy, and now the target will suffer X magical damage, and he's looking for a blue card. Let's just check the distance. He's certainly within range, and here you can see bug spray at the bottom. We're looking for blue. He's got an arcane of 4. That means he's going to get 4 cards. But because Drunk Fritz has got an evade of -1, that means Grub will only get 3 arcane cards. Let's give them a really good shuffle, and then we'll dish out those cards. So it's 1, 2, 3 for Grub because of that evade, and then whoever the target is, they'll always get 6 cards. Now Grub is looking for a blue, and he has a look at his cards, and here you can see he's got a blue too. That's perfect, because now that would be 2 magical damage going on Drunk Fritz. So he's going to choose that card, and he's going to actually say what it is. He's got a chance to bluff here, but he chooses to say, that's a blue 2. Now it's up to Drunk Fritz to look at his cards, and he hasn't got any 2s here. He's got a blue 3 and a blue 1, but he kind of believes Grub. He thinks he's called it, so he's going to agree, and he's going to take the 2 magical damage. He's got no abilities that are passive that allow him to reduce that, so he straight up takes 2. We'll shuffle the cards back in, and then we'll mark up those 2 wounds on to Drunk Fritz. So let's grab his cards. At the bottom here, you can see we've got all the wounds, and then we'll just cross off 2 of them for that bug spray attack. Now we've triggered a special rule because Drunk Fritz has suffered damage. So now the defender may place Agatha Tavernfrau in base contact with the tavern main entrance. Now Agatha Tavernfrau enters play with all her energy and can be activated as normal for the remainder of the game. And she is not happy with Beaky Bobby for what he's trying to do to Drunk Fritz here. So she gets her 3 energy tokens and she's going to go straight in. And she's going to be a bit sneaky here. She's going to go with an enticing offer. It's a 10-inch range. It costs 2 energy tokens. And she can move a target 4 inches directly towards her with any 2. She eyes up Beaky Bobby and entices him over to her. So now she's going to spend those 2 tokens, check the distance, and it's certainly within range of the 10 inches. We'll spend the 2 energy tokens, so remove those. And then we're going to get the arcane deck, give it a good shuffle again. And now Agatha is going to get arcane of 3. And if we take a look at Beaky Bobby's card, he's got an evade of 1. So she's only going to get 2 cards here. So she's got to hope there's a 2 in there somewhere. Beaky Bobby gets the 6 as he's the target. Let's see what she's got. Bad luck. It's just a 1 and a 1, a blue and a green. But she's going to be a bit sneaky here. She's going to try her luck. Nothing really happens. She'll take a couple of wounds if she's caught out. But she's going to say that is a pink 2. Now, Beaky Bobby has a look at the cards. He's got lots of 1s. He's got a blue 2. And he thinks she's telling the truth. With all those 1s there, there's a really good chance she does have a 2. So no one looks at the cards. He accepts that that's what's happened. And so they go back into the deck. Now he's going to have to move 4 inches directly towards Agatha. That's the arcane ability complete and an example of how the bluffies could work. Of course, it could go the opposite way though, because if he had that too, she would have been in trouble. Now, let's see the range then. She can use her jog action to get in range of 1 inch, and she's going to spend her 5 energy token to do some melee damage to him, hopefully. So now it's time to grab the melee deck, And we're going to have a look at the cards here. So we can see that Agatha has got a melee of 3, and she's got a few passive abilities here, but so she's going to get 3 cards plus 2, and she's going to be looking for piercing damage and rising attack. Beaky Bobby, he's only got a melee of 2. He can't do an awful lot up close. You've got to be careful though, because he's got some pulse abilities, but he's only going to get those 2 melee cards. Let's give the deck a shuffle, and then we'll start dishing those out. So Agatha will get her standard 3, plus 2 for being the attacker, and then Beaky Bobby is just going to get his normal 2 as per the melee stat. Agatha picks up her cards, she has a look. Remember, we're looking for piercing here, so she could do some piercing melee damage, and if she gets rising attack, it's an extra damage too. So she's going to choose rising attack because she had one in her hand, so that was fortunate. But now Beaky Bobby might be looking for a thrust. If he did get it, he may have activated his signature move, but he doesn't. He's got a falling swing or a high guard. So he's got to make a decision here. Does he want to go with a high guard defensive, or does he want to go on the attack? Hopes he's played a rising attack, and then he could deal some damage there. So that's exactly what he's done. Let's flip the cards over at this point, and now this is where the players would have a look and see what each of them have played. So Agatha played a rising attack, and that's against a falling swing from Beaky Bobby. Now you can see a rising attack against a falling swing will deal 1 damage, but Agatha is going to suffer 3. But it's good news, because with Agatha, that concealed dagger passive ability comes into play. She dealt piercing melee damage, so she can increase the damage dealt by +1. Plus, it was a rising attack, so she can increase the damage dealt by a further +1. Then with Beaky Bobby, I made a bit of an error here. I thought it was reduce all melee damage he took, but it's not. It's how much he deals. So he shouldn't have took just 2. He should really have taken 3 here, but I reduced it. So unfortunately, he only took 2, and he dealt 3, but really, he should only have dealt 2. So I got it a little bit wrong in the example. So I think this just shows it really pays to take your time, read the cards, learn what your characters can do, and then you can avoid little mistakes like this. But it is a fun game. It's one to be played with your friends. It doesn't really matter if you do make these mistakes at the end of the day. It's all about telling a story for me. It's a perfect narrative game. But now we're at the end of the round, so we go through into round 2. We go through the replenish step, and then we're going to roll off again. And the dice come in pretty furiously, and it's a nice 6 versus 1. So Drunk Fritz and Agatha get the initiative, and they can choose to activate first. Great news for Drunk Fritz. You look at this, tough as old boots. At the start of the replenish phase, this model recovers 2 wounds. So he's back up to full health. Right, now it's time to choose one of the models to activate. And Agatha's not done with Beaky Bobby yet. She's not happy at all. Unfortunately, because she was wounded in the previous round, she lost one of her energy tokens. She's only got 2, and she's going to spend one of them to immediately get stuck in with some melee attacks. So she gets her 3, plus 2 for being the attacker, and then Beaky Bobby gets his 2. She takes a look at her cards, and again, we're still going to look for piercing and rising attack. There's no rising attack this time, so can we find piercing? And the only one with piercing damage is a thrust. So she decides to play that. Beaky Bobby's turn. He's having a look at this. He's got 2 rising attacks, and that's brilliant news for him. He's got no choice really. He's got to play one of them. And now, because he's got 2, he can make a critical hit. So he can play another one if he wants to. But let's have a look at the damage first. So a thrust against a rising attack. Agatha will deal 2 damage. She'll take 1. Now he'll play a critical hit because he had the other card. So now she'll take 2. It's piercing, so she can add +1 for her concealed dagger passive ability. So that means she's going to deal 3 to Beaky Bobby. I did make the mistake again and reduce that by 1 for him. So he only takes 2, and then she is going to take 2, 1 for each of the rising attacks played. Okay, now she's got 1 energy token left, so she's going to use that and go for another round of melee combat. So let's get stuck in. Let's shuffle those cards. And so Agatha gets her 3 melee cards, plus 2 for being the attacker, 2 for Beaky Bobby, and off we go again. She's going to have a look now, see what card she's got. Again, we're looking for that rising attack, which is in there. That's good news. That could be some serious damage coming Beaky Bobby's way. Let's see what he's got. He can go sweep and cut, or a low guard. Does he want to go defensive? Yes, he does. He plays the low guard. Now the players would reveal their cards and we'll have a look. So rising attack against a low guard. No damage is dealt at all, so we can't deal any damage from the passive abilities either, because we've got the circle with the line through it. But look at this, Beaky Bobby's got the yellow. That means he can make another sneaky attack, and he chooses Sweeping Cut, dealing 2 damage, but unfortunately Agatha can't do any damage back because this is a free attack. Agatha takes 2 damage. Again, this should have been reduced to 1, but for the example it's fine. And then she's left with 1. Beaky Bobby is left with 3. Now it's the turn of Beaky Bobby's troop to choose one of the bottles to activate, and they choose to go with Grub. Grub's going to use his jog action, which is free, and he's going to make sure he's within 2 inches of Agatha, so he can use one of his abilities in a moment, but he's going to stay 2 inches away from Drunk Fritz, so he's not within his melee range. He's going to spend 2 of his tokens, and he's going to use his arcane ability, which is called the Bug Spray, 2-inch range, 2 energy tokens, looking for a blue card, and the target will suffer X magical damage. So here we go. He picks Agatha as his target, and he only has to get her with this for her to take any damage whatsoever. So let's shuffle those cards and we'll start dealing them out. Now Grub has got Arcane of 4, and Agatha doesn't have an evade, so he gets his full 4 cards. Agatha gets 6, and Grub is looking for blue now, so let's see what he's got. So he's got the 1 blue, and that's all he needs to take Agatha out of the game. So he's going to say exactly what it is. He's going to say it's a blue 1. Agatha takes a look at her deck. Now she's got 2 blues, they're both 1s, and she's got Catastrophe. So she's going to call his bluff, because the chances are there's a good chance that he could be bluffing here, and she's got Catastrophes, 2 of them, to deal damage if he is. And it makes sense to call it because she's going to lose a wound anyway, but it is a blue 1. She takes that damage. That's going to be magical damage. There's nothing she can do. She has no passive abilities to negate it, and so she'll suffer that final 1 wound, and because of Beaky Bobby's damage earlier, that's her out of the game now. But Grub isn't finished yet, because check this out, he's still got 2 energy tokens. So we'll get rid of Agatha, let's remove her from the table and see what Grub's going to get up to next. And he decides to pass. He's going to keep his 2 energy tokens to make a reaction. So now it goes to Drunk Fritz, who just happens to be 2 inches within range of Beaky Bobby because of that special ability that Agatha did earlier. Now Drunk Fritz is a bit of a beast up close in melee, and he's going to get 5 melee cards, plus 2 for making the attack. But poor old Beaky Bobby, he's only got melee 2. He's only going to get those 2 cards. So I don't think this is going to end well for him. Let's spend a token for Drunk Fritz and get stuck in. Now Drunk Fritz has got a 2-inch melee range, so he didn't have to move to make the attack. So we'll shuffle the cards. We'll give Drunk Fritz his 5 cards as per his melee stat, plus 2 for being the attacker, and then 2 for Beaky Bobby. Drunk Fritz takes a look at 7 cards. There's a chance here he could have quite a lot, and especially some doubles. That's what you really want to get, so you can start making those critical hits. He's got 2 falling swings, a thrust, a high guard, another high guard, a low guard. He's going to go, what's he going to do? Falling swing to do some slicing damage? I think that's a good idea. He's got 2 of those, and one of his passive abilities means he'll do an extra 3 damage with any slicing attacks. But Beaky Bobby might be in with a chance. He's having a look at the cards. He knows he wants to do some slicing damage to him, so he's going to take that into account when he chooses which one to go with. He's kind of guessing that Drunk Fritz might play a specific card, and as he had 7 of them, he's probably got one of those in his hand. So he's having a look. Perhaps a rising attack. Which one will do more damage if he does play a rising? He's going with that one. Okay, let's reveal the cards. Players will now turn the cards over, and let's see what we got. A falling swing against a falling swing means no damage, and even though Drunk Fritz has got another one to make a critical hit, he doesn't do any, but you can still do slicing damage. It's a 0 and not a circle with a line through it. So if we look at this, the Great Sword, it means he does plus 3 damage. So Beaky Bobby is indeed going to take those 3 points of damage, and that's enough to take him out of the game. So let's cross off those damage points. That's all 3. Beaky Bobby's done, and now it's time to remove him from battle. That was the end of an action from Drunk Fritz, and Grub decides to react. So he spends one of his energy tokens to step 1 inch and gets out of range of Drunk Fritz. Because Drunk Fritz took out Beaky Bobby, he could make another attack against Grub if he wanted to, and he was within range. But Drunk Fritz has got some other things he can do. He can stagger about, and he's going to use that, because if he steps 1 inch, Grub could react again, move 1 inch away, and he'd still be out of range. But if he gets a 2 or a 3 here, he's got a chance to close him down and then do some melee attacks on Grub too. So let's shuffle those cards, give them a really good shuffle. Let's cut the deck a couple of times, make it fair. We don't know what's going to come up. Let's see what it is. It's a 3! That's a great result for Drunk Fritz. That's exactly what he needed to close down Grub now. And even if Grub reacted after this, he's still going to be within the 2 inch range. So there's no point him trying to move away. So let's get them stuck in. We'll move Drunk Fritz in base contact with Grub. Spend that final energy token for Drunk Fritz. And he's going to start making another melee attack. Here we go then. This could be a really good round for Drunk Fritz if he can take out Grub as well. And we know he can do it because he can deal some serious amounts of damage. But as we look at the cards, again, we got 5 for Drunk Fritz. He's going to be adding 2 to that for making the attack. Grub has got a melee 4 though, which isn't too bad. And Grub has still got all 7 of his damage points there. So let's see. Let's shuffle these cards, see what we get. And then we're going to deal out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus the 2. That's 7 cards altogether for Drunk Fritz. Grub will get 4 for his melee stat. And then let's see what Drunk Fritz has got. Again, he's looking for slicing damage. Every time he gets it, that's going to be a +3 damage dealt. And look at this, he's got Falling Swing. That's a perfect result. It's slicing. He's got 3 cards. If Grub plays the wrong card here, he could be in serious trouble. So let's go. We'll put down one of those cards face down. Then Grub checks out his. Now, he can go defensive or he can try and do some damage. This is looking good with a high guard, but so is the low guard. And he knows that Drunk Fritz might try and play a rising attack. So he's going to go with a low guard. We flip the cards, and you can see a Falling Swing against a low guard is going to be 2 points of damage from Drunk Fritz. Now, Drunk Fritz is going to play all 3 of them. That's 6 points of damage in total, 2 for each card. But because it was slicing damage, it's another 3 because of his special ability, Great Sword. So that's 9 points of damage. That's enough to take Grub completely out of the game. And then he's not going to give any damage to Drunk Fritz in return. So that's a huge attack, and this is the power of Drunk Fritz. If he gets the right cards, he does some serious damage. As you've seen, he's taken out Beaky Bobby and Grub here. But he's got Vicious Sid left to go, and Vicious Sid is no joke. And as Fritz has spent all of his energy tokens, it's now the turn of Vicious Sid to activate and see if he can take him down. He uses his free jog action to move 4 inches, spends 1 energy token, and now he's going to attack Drunk Fritz. It's up to him to get that Moonstone. His friends didn't do much. So let's have a look at the cards. And look at this. Vicious Sid has also got 5 for his melee stat. He's going to get +2 to that for making the attack. And Drunk Fritz is going to get his standard 5 cards. So it's back to the melee deck. Give that a good shuffle, and then we'll deal them out. Now, Vicious Sid has got a fantastic ability. And it says that each time he causes 1 or more wounds to an enemy, he gains 1 energy. He can do it a maximum of 3 times per turn as well. So he can just keep on fighting. Here we are then, 7 cards. And Vicious Sid is maybe looking for a rising attack. But he can do some extra damage with piercing. So he's going to be looking for something that does some piercing damage maybe. Falling Swing, that's not going to quite do it. Sweeping Cut, Slicing. So he's got decisions to make. Does he go for rising attack just to get the piercing? It could be an option. He's going to do it. Is he? He can't decide. Yeah, maybe not. Let's go Falling Swing. Now it's turn of Drunk Fritz to have a look at his cards. He wouldn't mind a rising attack here, but as long as he gets something that does the old slicing damage, he'll be happy. And he's going to go for a Falling Swing here rather than the rising attack. He's not worried about his signature move just now. Players will turn the cards over. And look at this. It's a Falling Swing against the Falling Swing. That means no damage dealt to either side. Even though, Vicious Sid tried to sneak in a different card there. He's got a Falling Swing, but he's not going to do anything else there. And the Falling Swing is slicing, so it's not going to get the piercing damage either. But Drunk Fritz can get that extra +3 because the damage dealt is slicing. So he's going to do 3 points of damage to Vicious Sid. But not so fast, because Vicious Sid has got plate armor. That means he can reduce all non-magical damage suffered by -2, so he takes 1. He's not done yet though. He's going to spend another energy token, and let's have another round of melee combat. Good shuffle of the cards again, and we're going to go through the motions. 5 melee cards for Vicious Sid, plus those 2 for making the attack, 5 for Drunk Fritz, and let's see what we got. So Vicious Sid, again, looking for piercing, or maybe even a rising attack. He's got a 1 rising attack card there, and he chooses to play it. He's going to try and activate his Groin Tickler. That's his signature move. Let's see what Drunk Fritz is up to. He might want a rising attack too, and he does have 2 of the cards. So let's have a look. If we turn that over, we can see Corn Cutter. He does get an upgrade. It's not really going to affect an awful lot, but he could do some damage with it. Does he do it? A little bit of thinking going on here. You can see the end step effect doesn't really come into play here, but he chooses it anyway. Here we go. Let's turn those cards over. It's a rising attack against a rising attack, so it's going to be 1 each. But Drunk Fritz, he's got another one, so he's going to do 2 points of damage, plus 3 for his special ability, the Great Sword. So that's going to be 5 in total. We're going to be deducting 2 because of Vicious Sid with his plate armor. So he's going to take 3 more. 1, 2, 3. And he's just going to deal 2 points of damage to Drunk Fritz. So let's take 2 off Drunk Fritz there. That's 1 point of damage for the rising attack and 1 for the short and stabby ability. Okay, he's going to spend 1 energy token to attack again. But don't forget, Vicious Sid has got the Vicious ability. Each time this model causes 1 or more wounds to an enemy, it gains 1 energy. Again, he can do it maximum 3 times per round. He did it, so he gets another energy token now. Alright, let's do another round of melee. We'll shuffle those cards, deal them out, and so it's going to be another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Vicious Sid, plus 2 for making the attack, and then 5 for Drunk Fritz. Let's have a look here then. Okay, well, we've got 3 rising attacks. This is not good for Drunk Fritz. This is going to be some serious damage. He's obviously got to play rising attack here. It's his signature move. He's got 3 of them. But let's see what happens. And it's a bit of a tough one. He's going to go with Falling Swing here. He wants that slicing damage. He's got a couple of cards, so it could rack up. Let's turn it over. So we've got the rising attack against the Falling Swing. That's going to be 1 dealt. But unfortunately for Vicious Sid, he's going to receive 3. Hang on though, because don't forget he's upgrading his rising attack for a Groin Tickler. It's piercing. It's going to now do 3 damage against a Falling Swing. And because he's got 3 of those rising attack cards, he can play them as critical hits. That's now 3 each. That's going to be 10 in total. Plus he's allowed to do 1 extra damage for piercing. That's 10 points of damage he's going to do to Drunk Fritz now. Vicious Sid is no joke. He can do some serious damage, and it's shown here. If he gets the right cards, he can really take them down. Getting those 3 rising attacks was just the best result ever, and that's going to be all 10 going on there. And that's Drunk Fritz out. He's done. But we still have to take into account his attack on Vicious Sid. So he's got 2 falling swings against a rising attack. He's going to be dealing 3 each, plus 3. That's 9 going back on Vicious Sid. And now Vicious Sid has taken out 2. So they've basically just taken each other out. The Moonstone's going to drop onto the floor. And there's no one left. They're all off the battlefield now. So the victory conditions for this would be whoever's in possession at the end of turn 5 would be the winner. If no one's in possession at the end of turn 5, sudden death determines the winner. But because no one's left on the battlefield, I think this one's going to be called a draw. But check this guy out. We've got a pug sneaking on. It's Doug the Flatulent. He's going to come, grab the Moonstone, take it home, and at least someone's benefited from this crazy battle outside of the tavern. That was certainly a result I didn't expect to see. What a mad ending to the game with Drunk Fritz and Vicious Sid getting all those cards and taking each other out. I've tried this scenario 3 times today to really get the hang of it. I've really enjoyed playing Drunk Fritz. He can do some serious damage, but if you get that catastrophic card like I did all 3 times today, then that really does hamper him. He didn't get away with it in this game or the previous one, so he hasn't quite made it home. But yeah, really fun, and hopefully this has given you a good idea about how the game plays out, how some of the card mechanics work, and so this will be a good companion hopefully to go along with that how to play video I made previously. The terrain and mat I used here are from Battle Systems, and if you'd like to check out those sets, you just build it out of cards already painted up, so you're all good to go. And of course, all of the models are from Moonstone. And if you're interested in picking up the Drunk Fritz exclusive model, it's available for one more day, Monday the 4th of September. So if you're watching this as soon as it's gone out, you've still got a chance to order him. Doesn't come around very often, but the Goblin King Games team have opened up the King's coffers and you can get this exclusive model now. And I got him painted up ready for this battle. Hope you enjoy it, and a great looking model. Really fun if you can get hold of him. I've been having a great time playing Moonstone. At my local club, there's a lot of people getting into it now, which is really cool. And I'll be bringing some battle reports real soon where I play against other people so we can do the bluffs properly and everything. But this really was just a demonstration. Sorry I made those mistakes with Beaky Bobby, but I don't think it took away from the mechanics and the process that you have to go through for each step of the game. I think the card mechanics are fantastic. Narrative is just amazing. I think this is one of the funnest games I've ever played. I can't get enough of it at the moment. It's great for all ages as well. We've seen all sorts of people playing it, and I hope you give it a go if you haven't already. Look out for lots more videos in the series up on the channel, and if you want to know how to play, how to paint the models, I've done loads of different videos now, and this series is going to continue, so there'll be a lot more Moonstone to come. But for now, thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you liked it. If you did, it'd be great if you hit the like button. Subscribe as well for more Moonstone content like this one. And I look forward to seeing you here next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters for helping me to keep going with these regular videos. I couldn't do this without you, and I appreciate your support so much. If you'd like to join the Patreon community, support the channel, get some great perks at the same time, there's a link down below in the description. It'll be awesome to see you there.